Now, I know it's only been a couple months since I declared my best boss of the year as Yatsuga Hagi from Path of the Goddess. But I've been playing a lot of games this summer, and it was only a matter of time before that title was turned over to another boss. And boy oh boy, the new boss that has claimed that title may also climb the ladder of my favorite bosses of all time. Let's start with the game. Nine Souls is a 2D Metroidvania, best described as a mesh between the beauty and storytelling of Hollow Knight with the frenetic and hard combat of Sekiro, complete with a parry system with the absolute best sounding perfect parry noise I've ever heard. While there aren't as many bosses in Nine Souls when compared with the other games mentioned, with just 9 mainline bosses and a few side bosses, the bosses that are in the game are incredibly well designed, and is honestly unrivaled in the way the bosses scale. Obviously, people will struggle with different patterns when it comes to boss fights, but for me, each boss seemed harder than the last, culminating with the final fight, which is now my favorite of the year, being much, much harder than anything before it. Like Radahn was for Shadow of the Erdtree, the final fight of this game is quite the undertaking. It took me about 2 hours on my first run to beat her. Radahn around the same, but Radahn was not fun for me, like, at all. There was no time to learn his moves because he killed me in 2 hits. The damage I did to him made me feel like someone out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And the second phase dropped so many frames I wondered if America was fucking with my GPU to make things harder. I got so fed up with how bored and frustrated I was, I called a friend to put me and Radahn out of our misery. A lot of the DLC bosses hit for me up until this point. I loved Mesmer and Midra. I'll never forget the sound of Bale's second phase transformation. And the Dancing Lion is one of my favorite boss designs of the year. But unfortunately, a game with so many variables sometimes winds up with people having polarizing experiences. Radahn could have been easier with another build, but the effort required to get a whole new weapon up to the appropriate level, on top of the effort to research a better build to swap to, wasn't worth it for me after 50 hours with this character and 1 step away from the credits. Nine Souls is a much more refined experience, with 1 main weapon, 1 ranged weapon, and a few dozen passives called Jades that add variance to the game while still keeping the player experience down the same path. The game is all about parrying, but even if your timing isn't perfect, it has a half parry where you take recoverable damage, which is gained back by hitting enemies. Having half parries makes learning bosses a smooth experience, as you mess up the timings without dying instantly, thanks to this mechanic. This gives you more time in the fight to perfect that timing and come out the other side victorious. The timing gets harder and harder as we work our way to the final boss, Aigon. A 2-phase baddie with a sizable health pool, ready to chop you down again and again and again. The build up to this fight is set right from the beginning, as she, as your mentor, along with the rest of the council, betrays and kills you as the first cutscene of the game. Set out for vengeance, you cut your way back to her, while her backstory and yours is fleshed out on the way, really building her up in your head. The fight is tense and uses every single technique you've learned in the game, testing if you have a grasp on each mechanic. I truly felt like the Avatar when I finally beat her. Using all those skills against her was a glorious experience. But wait, we're not done yet. See, this game, like most games in its genre, has multiple endings, and the true ending, along with the obligatory new cutscene, comes with one of the juiciest rewards a glutton for punishment like myself and all the other boss rush billies out there could ever hope for. Another phase for the final boss. What a brilliant reward to push you into going for that true ending. It's been a while since something has compelled me to complete a game 100%, but that alone was enough to get me to dive back in. Once I had collected everything needed and seen every corner of this game's honestly brilliant story, I was ready to take Aigon on again, and Phase 3 did not disappoint. Like Goku hitting Super Saiyan, Phase 3 was on another level than the last. It was so fast I could barely understand what was happening. Phase 3 absolutely requires you to hit perfect parries. The timing windows become so much tighter, and moves of hers you had previously mastered have insane new finishers to dodge. After another hour and a half, I finally did it, and here is my genuine reaction to this beautiful fight. This has to be it. This has to be it. Come on, man. Stay cool. Let's go!
Come on! Oh! 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 Oh my god. I did it, Zuko. We can go play now. Holy.
And then the true ending played, and I cried. The perfect ending to close the chapter on Yi as a character. It's not often we get tough boss-focused gameplay paired with a great story, but it's magical when we do. Having that cutscene play after the emotional high of an intense boss fight was quite the 1-2 punch, and will keep this boss and this game close to my heart for the rest of my life.